Hello and welcome to another video in my sketching series with me, Elliot Atchison El Masri, and today we've come out to another location on the beautiful island of Anglesey in North Wales, and today I'm going to show you how to make another pencil sketch, this time of a distant architectural structure, and we're going to have a go at Britannia Bridge in the distance this morning. So I'm down near Church Island near Menai Bridge, and I've just panned round and show you the view that we're going to be looking at, or I'm going to be looking at while I do this for you this morning, and I will be sketching this view and taking you through a few techniques again about how to do that. And I'm going to pan round to my work now and take you through it close up, and I'll put the picture up alongside the video so that you can access it and see it as well. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm trying to get the view in front of me as well today, so we'll see how this works out. Now, we've got Britannia Bridge right in front of us here. The sea is beautifully calm today, and I'm going to begin by just actually lightly and gently sketching in those clouds. Now, as in the last video, I'm using a 4B pencil, which is quite a soft one. It's not the softest, but it's quite soft, and quite often if you're drawing buildings, you may want to use a slightly harder pencil, so that you can get clear lines without risking any sort of smudging on the paper, which can happen with the very soft pencils. But I'm just going to start off by drawing those gentle shapes, and then just a little hatching there to darken it up. Any kind of scene like this is going to be changing as you draw it, although not rapidly today because there's very little wind. So if you really want to focus on a subject and concentrate on some cloud formations or sea formations, then a day when there's very little wind is a good time to do it, because it simply won't change very much. Now, this bridge is interconnecting the island with the mainland, and perhaps a little bit less famous in a way than the actual Menai Bridge, but that's completely in shadow today, so I might do that on another day. I'm going to softly sketch in, as I've done before and talked about before, softly sketch in some outline trees, not worrying about any kinds of details. And then I'm going to straight away sketch in the broad line of the bridge. Now, it doesn't actually go right through those tower structures in the middle, but I'm just going to, for the sake of drawing it out, I'm going to pretend that it does. And then I'm going to get the general shape in, you see, at this point, without concerning myself with too much detail. This is the key thing, I think, when you're sketching, as I've talked about before. I can go on about it, but there we go. So we've got the main line of the bridge there, and then the arches underneath. I'm just going to sketch that, and I'm going to sketch what I see as the surface of the water there. The water line is coming around slightly there, and the base of those trees going around in the woodland in the far distance. That meets the base of the bridges there. I'm not sure of all my architectural features, but and then we're going to do the longer line of that. Don't worry if you make a mistake. I've actually made that too broad there, but I'm not. I haven't brought any erasers with me, and I really don't mind about that when I'm sketching. It really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. But if you're sketching light lines to begin with, then, you know, if you do another line that's a bit stronger in a closer position, if you're looking for some sort of accuracy, then that's the one that people will look at. They won't look at the faded line so much unless they're, you know, a bit pedantic. I'm not concerned about that anyway. I mean, this is sketching. This is in your sketchbook. Anyway, so mostly it's pretty private. Okay, so we've got this area here. I'm going to call them towers, but there's probably another word for it. Going into the woodland there, and again I'm just going to simplify that outline of the tops of those trees. There's many trees. Could get complicated about it, but I don't want to. It's a sketch. We're keeping it quick and light. I decided I'd do a few videos using pencil to encourage you to kind of explore that, and I'm kind kind of rediscovering it a little bit because I haven't been using pencil for a while. Now there's a tiny little island there with a house on it as well. Looks like it's joined onto the land, but it actually is separate. So any shadows or shapes, of course I'm going to see the shapes of the bridge reflected in the water, but I'm going to make sure that I make those darker tonal shapes along the line of the water, much in the way as I did along the line of grass here, so that it suggests that it's flat, and boy, it really is flat today. It's like a silky lake, it's beautiful. It's actually the Menai Straits, so it's this sea water that's going to come down slightly there, and then in the distance I can see the land is actually slightly raised. Of course it's further back, it's not really raised, it's just further back. Let's draw that in there. Still the bridge is very, very rudimentary in the drawing. Kind of setting the scene, which you sort of are really, with a quick kind of sketch really. And then further forward down here, so we've got that island there, just a little bit on that. To check this is all in shot because I'm having to grapple with my camera to hold it, it's a bit tricky. Okay, there's the edge of the woodland there. I'm going to hatch that in fairly sketchily. It's a more detailed drawing, take time to get involved in more intricate details, but as I say, with sketching I'm just sort of getting an impression really. It's fairly fleeting. I've actually got my parking on a ticket, so that makes me do this quickly really. Okay, and let's see now, I might have to, excuse me moving the camera down. I'm going to bring this down slightly and take my eye off the view so that you can see me drawing further down the page here. Thank you for the comments on the last video, by the way, because it's so helpful to find, you know, to know what you're finding useful, and if you need me to sort of pan the view more or do more close up, then if it's helpful, can do that. Or if you'd like me to do something in a particular media, pastel, charcoal, ink and wash, then I'll be doing them anyway, actually, to show you different approaches. So these rocks here, they've got a bit of seaweed on them, so they're looking pretty dark. So again, with this pencil, it's a 4B, it's very versatile. You could just press a bit harder and you get that nice darkness coming through, so you don't have to swap into another media. There's various bits of seaweed just underneath the surface there, so just breaking and making like a fine bit of shadow on the paper there. Sort of subtle shapes where they're going underneath the water, and then where they hit the surface, just doing a sort of textured shading shape there, just to suggest, maybe it doesn't look anything like seaweed, but it's a suggestion. Everything here is just like a suggestion of it. Okay, so the woods over there slightly more in shadow, so, and then this I'm going to also fairly roughly shade that in. I'm going to come back to the bridge again now and begin to look at this in a bit more detail. It's very strong sunlight, which is beautiful to draw in, but it's quite tricky for the camera angle. And I realise I've actually overstated that, so I'm going to come down a bit with that and draw these in there. So, you know, you don't make a sketch without making mistakes really, so, but you really want to avoid getting into a situation where you're drawing, rubbing out, and then you get paranoid about making any sort of mark. So whenever I've been teaching with kids, I've tended just to get them to put all their rubbers away, because it kind of builds fear in a way. The ability that you can delete something, you just kind of lose confidence in your ability to just supersede anything that you make as a kind of learning journey through the drawing, and just, you know, don't just throw the rubbers away. You know, you learn a lot more, and actually I believe the drawing will look a lot better, even if there's line over line over line, trying to find the right place. Your drawing will be probably a lot stronger than if you rubbing and then fretting over it, and it'll sort of show, it transmits. Even if it doesn't transmit completely visually, but you tend to be able to see it anyway. This isn't an exam after all, it's a bit of learning something and hopefully feeling fairly chilled and enjoying the peace of it. Oh, such a peaceful scene here, it's amazing. You know, this is actually the first time I've ever drawn this bridge. I've never done it before. It's when you discover there's the railway line goes underneath it, so it's like a double layer. I really marvel at all the people who built this in any kind of weather. And the design. It's very elegant and stately. Now, I am aiming to keep this as a sketch, so although I'm putting in some detail, I'm being fairly selective about it. So somebody might say, oh, you've had a go at Britannia Bridge. But then if they look more carefully, they go, well, you missed out that bit, or you missed out that bit. But for the sake of this, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of metalwork underneath, but I'm not going to accurately even count all of these sections here. I'm just going to approximate them. And then also here, this is a kind of, I'm not sure if that's concrete or stone. I think there's probably a stone actually there. Yeah, definitely pre-concrete era. I'm going to also give that some cross-hatching there, just to indicate what is the shape of that, this being the rectangular plane facing away from the sunshine here on this side. Okay, so it's using that hatching technique again, and then I'm just going to take the main lines of that metalwork there and let's get the main angles of that broadly accurate without, as I say, drawing every line in. Starting to get a bit smudgy there, that's fine. Again, I'm going to, it's just the line of the hills there, I'm just going to cross hatch that in as well. Not hills, sorry, woodland. And you can see that through there as well. Clouds changing a little bit there. I'm going to add in those wispy bits there, and I'm going to follow that a bit more with the line of my marks there. Now, if you were wanting to do a very accurate drawing of a subject like this or a building, it's actually a very good way to start off is by doing a sketch, and you really get an understanding of the general proportions, the general angles, the generalities of it all, without getting bogged down in detail. And it's a very good preliminary exercise before you do a detailed drawing. So actually, if I was going to sit here rather, and be doing a view that was lasting, a detailed drawing that might take me an hour or even 2 hours,
starting off with a sketch in this kind of way is actually a very good preliminary exercise to kind of what artists look cool. Get your eye in. To get your eye in, you can do this. Okay. So as I say, if somebody was coming up and marking it, they'd be like, you haven't got as many of those as they are there. You haven't got all of those girders in the right place or exactly, but you've got the suggestion of it here. Okay. And then, you know, when you're a bit more sure of some of those lines of the structure, you can come and go over them again a bit more solidly, a bit more firmly, press a bit harder, and draw some laurels going over there slightly, and then there's some wiring from a pylon there over there, and I'm going to come down here again. The base of anything is important to draw in. Now obviously these go right through down under the water, so you don't see the base, but what you do see is the staining on the stonework, and where it meets the sea there, it does look quite dark, and I'm going to make a point of drawing that in because in that way it looks like it's not floating, you know, if you want it to look like it actually is. Okay, this solid object. And when I was teaching students to draw people, to concentrate on where the objects, whatever objects or people, their feet touch the ground, objects touch the flower, you get things really kind of rooted on a surface. They look more convincing. Now these lines I'm drawing in here, sorry, video's turning around a bit there, it's the reflection on the surface of the water. It's kind of broken up a little bit by the ripples of the waves there, very, very lucky. But it's the reflection of that tall verticals of the bridge, so it's broken slightly by the water. So again, this is going to be an ever-changing scene with the waters moving very gently actually, but you can just kind of get the general impression of that. So you've got bits of seaweed bobbing through, you've got the reflection of the sky, you've got reflections from the land and the shadows, you've got rocks peeping through, and then you've got these other kinds of reflections. Plus, you've just simply got the movement of the water. So there's quite a lot going on the water. There. It's probably about as much as I'm going to do actually, I think. I could work into that, but I'm going to keep it light as a sketch. Now the sky has actually quite changed now. If we move this up a bit, you can see that. The sky has quite changed again. And you can see, you know, we're looking at the view there from the camera, but actually, of course, I'll do a close-up and put a close-up picture link to where I put the video, because the way I'm looking at it, I perceive it much more closely than we do through the video camera. So what we see is kind of an illusion. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope that's helpful. Let me know your comments. Thank you for the shares on the last video. It's wonderful if you can share it around with people who are not able to access classes, or maybe for whatever reason, maybe they don't have much time, but they might have 10 minutes at night to look at a video on drawing and get them going, and really encourage them, because it's such a beautiful thing just to be able to go out and sketch if you've got a bit of time. It's really so soothing. Give it a go. Let me know how you get on. Thank you so much for watching.